Ladies and gentlemen, Mike, should I return for 8.2? Nah, mate, Classic's coming. Mike, should I return for 8.2? Final Fantasy 14. Jesus Christ, man. I've wanted to make this video for a few days. In fact, it's taken me a few days to make it because I had to wait until the dust settled, because a lot of new content in WoW is very front-loaded. You get hit in the face like a hammer with all this new stuff, and then after a few days, it tends to like settle down, and we get into what the routine is going to be going forward for the next little while here. And as we know, a lot of people have left World of Warcraft. We're not shy about it here. We're not going to keep it a secret. So is it worth coming back? It's often the question I get asked. And the reason I did that sort of silly voice at the beginning is because a lot of people are very biased and angry and bitter towards World of Warcraft right now. Understandably so. I am not here to say, go away, take your negativity and hide in a corner. No, I don't care. There's good reason to be. There's very good reason to be. So what I'm going to do here is address the short answer and the long answer. The short answer is yes. There's plenty of stuff to see here. It's worth a month subscription in my mind, even if you're unsure about things, not really willing to commit to like joining a raid guild, joining an M-Bus team, big PvP, even if you just want to come back, see what it's all about, there's easily worth a month's subscription to come and check that out. That's the short answer. The long answer is maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. Over the past sort of 6 days since the patch came out, I've been bombarded with questions, hundreds and hundreds of different individuals contacting me. But the conversation, realistically, as I pointed out today on stream, is I've had like 4 conversations. That's it. Despite all those different people, I've really had about 4 different conversations. The first 2 are the ones I memed at the beginning. It's people who have already disliked World of Warcraft and really just want to tell me that they prefer Classic. Wonderful. So they come in with like, hey Mike, how's patch 8.2? And I'll start to answer. They go, fuck it, yeah, I'm never resubbing, I'm waiting for Classic. Okay. Like, I don't need to hear that. Don't come at me like that. And the same with the guys who have moved to Final Fantasy 14 and really like it. I understand that. That's fine. Just don't try and debate me with a silly comment about 8.2 so you can get your thoughts in that you really hate World of Warcraft regardless of what they do. I totally get that. The other conversation for the people who are still subscribed and playing and doing 8.2 has been like this, and this will explain how difficult this is to answer. In one ear, worst patch I've ever seen. Can't fucking stand it. Hate this, hate this, hate this. In the other ear, awesome. Love this. Absolutely the best thing ever. Ay, ay, ay. And I do take it a little seriously that, you know, if a lot of people trust my opinion on these things, and then potentially we're just saying yes to just throwing a lot of people throwing money at 8.2 to come and check it out. And that's something that, you know, people struggle to choose where their money's going on their video game habits. So that's the thing that you've got to care about, I think so. So the long answer is maybe, maybe not. Now, one thing to consider here is, especially for me, the content I really enjoy in World of Warcraft, which as many of you know, is raiding. I love raiding. I love raiding with the guys. I love overcoming very difficult challenges in the game. I love that stuff. Isn't in the game yet. It's not here. They've left us a gap similar to what they do at the start of expansions, and I'm thankful for that. I want to point that out. Although it makes no logical sense why we could possibly not raid right now, considering we're in the zone where the raid is. I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it, because as a raider, certainly at a mythic level, there's a lot of required content, and that is a big thing that people who don't do that level of content don't understand, because they will instantly fire back with, you don't have to do anything. Thanks for that input. It's not true. If I want to do the thing I want to do, then I do need to do this required content. In fact, Blizzard has designed it specifically around me having done this required content because they know we're going to do it. But I get what you're trying to say. It's just not true, unfortunately. It's really not true. Whether you agree with that or not doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're like, well, it's true, you don't need to do it. That doesn't matter. Because the truth is, if you do want to take part in this stuff, you really do need to. At least for me, my personal situation, I do need to take part in these things. So, by choice. It's my choice to do that. It's my choice to do that. So what do we have in 8.2? Well, right now, what we have is access to the 2 brand new zones. Love them or hate them, maybe, maybe not. Maybe, maybe not. And the maybe, maybe not is because they are more of the same, for the most part, but there are definite improvements. They are brand new Daily Quest, World Quest zones, right? We've seen this before. In fact, the argument has kind of dissolved into just comparing them side by side after years and years of receiving the same sort of thing. Timeless Isle, Thunder Isle, Broken Shore, all this kind of Argus. You know, you get all these extra zones that come in midway through the expansion, and for the most part, they're pretty much the same sort of thing. Are they crazy innovative? Like, you're not going to believe what you're going to see when you go to Nazjatar or whether you go to Mechagon. No, they're not crazy innovative. They're bits and pieces of what people liked in the past, put together in a new box, in a new shiny way. And it's something Blizzard really needs to work on, because the conversation is getting tired comparing them, because that's all we're doing. We're going, is this Tanaan Jungle? Is it more Timeless Isle? Is it Throne of Thunder? It's like, where's the new next level of this? Where's the innovative that we're seeing over a decade of play where we're changing how this works? We have all this interesting technology to throw at it, which, for what I'm seeing, certainly in the case of phasing technology, is causing more headaches than it's solving at this point with this old model of content that we're putting into the game. Perhaps we can change this up and innovate on that in some way and make it a bit more interesting. Now, having said that, they have returned to a number of great things, which is the maybe. Some things I'm really going to like. In particular, one thing I really enjoy about the new zones, you can spend all day there. It's not particularly gated off. It's not. You can spend all day in Mechagon, hours and hours and hours and hours of your day, continuously progressing your character in Mechagon. The way the rares spawn, summonable rares, constructing equipment, going out and collecting more stuff to get more equipment to summon, finding new blueprints. All this stuff is stuff you can just spend your whole day doing should you want to do so. And that's why we're seeing now with the reputation grind, some people are already past revered and got flying already within a few days. Other people like myself who aren't that interested in acquiring flying and not that interested in new world quest zones, because that's not really my bread and butter, as I talked about at the beginning, have about 5-6k into Honored. So the good people are a good 6k ahead of me within 6 days. And that's fine. That's really good. That's the way it used to be. If you wanted to go down and farm Silithus till the end, till your eyes bled, you could go and do that. Blizzard wasn't stopping you from doing that. And they've definitely had a return to that this time, and a lot of people are embracing that and enjoying it because they like the zone, they like the style of it, so they're going spending a lot of time there. Vice versa to that. And Nazjatar is pretty much the same. You can do loads of stuff in Nazjatar depending on drops that you get, which then open new stories. And they also have got progressive growth of your character and your followers as you go through. If that's something you enjoy, you can spend all day in Nazjatar. I have done it. I have spent like 8 hours in Nazjatar just progressing and progressing and progressing. And it's fine. That's good stuff. If it's my choice to do that, I want to be able to do that. Simple. Now, on the vice versa of that, if you're not into that, so if you're more like me, because Mechagon, good zone, you can spend all day there, but it is focused on collectible things, right? It's focused on a lot of battle pets, creating mounts, creating new equipment, filling out all the blueprints that you can get, finding all the rares, which are on different rare spawners, finding out how to summon the rarer rares, things like that. If you're not particularly into that, because that's not really your jam, rares are rare to me, right? I mean, rares have lost a lot of relevance over the years in terms of what they actually do, and a lot of them provide cosmetic upgrades, which isn't really my jam, as many of you know. I don't care that people like cosmetics. It's just not my jam. Then for me, Mechagon is kind of like, I get my reputation to eventually get flying. Now, interestingly enough, for me, contrary to what people would probably expect, flying is the absolute bottom of my priority list right now. And the reason for that is I'm about to embark on a massive fucking adventure over the next few weeks, which means I want to just prepare my character for raiding. So that's been my focus. I've been focused on that aspect of the game. But I could have gone in different ways, and my time has been completely utilized. Now, bear in mind what I'm just saying there. There's so much in this patch, and it is huge. It is a huge patch regardless of what anybody says. And I have seen some people saying, well, I logged in for 20 minutes. I didn't really see anything to do, so I logged out, which is absurd. That's coming in expecting to not like it, which a lot of people do. They log in expecting to be unhappy, and surprise, you're unhappy. I've spent a huge portion of time in retail World of Warcraft, more than I've spent in months. And have stuff to do at the end of the day every single day that I'm unable to get done. It's as simple as that. That's how much is in there, and I'm ignoring focusing on other elements I could have focused on instead. That's how much there is to do right now, certainly if you're preparing a character for endgame raiding. So with that being said, if you're not into cosmetics and you're not into doing, say, getting the big crab mount, which is something I actually kind of want from Nazjatar, then you're going to just see these zones of just World Quest zones. They're better than a lot of the World Quest zones we've had in the past, but they are just World Quest zones. At a very base level, that's exactly what they are. And I do see that a lot when people come into the stream and we're doing Nudge Town, they're like, okay, so it's just like World Quest again? Sure, if that's how you want to treat it, and that's how I am treating it. I'm on board with you. That's how I'm treating it. I'm treating it as somewhere that I need something from, because in the immediate short term, it's required of me. I need the new resources, I need some of the new essences, and we'll get to those in a minute. So for me, these are zones that are required, but the main content that I'm after isn't here yet, and that's where my focus will shift. And I know, and I've told you guys, the brand new raid, when it appears, is really good. It's a good raid. It's not exceptional, but it's good enough, and it might even surprise me when we get into the final modifiers of Mythic, where I think this is actually a very, very good raid. I'm hoping that happens. I really am. Required stuff, then. Let's move to the Essence system. So a big complaint, and rightfully so, Lord knows I've been very outspoken about this, has been the class design of BFA. It's ultimately, in nearly every single way, a step backwards, along with a lot of the gameplay elements that we've had added as features of the game have been somewhat disappointing, very disappointing in some cases. And BFA has gone on with this required idea to push people into content. Now, the pessimist in me, and I don't regret the fact that WoW has made me a pessimist. I do regret it, but I find every step that's taken me to make me pessimistic about Blizzard's choices in BFA to be completely justified. Is that a lot of this content, I truly believe, Blizzard realized wasn't very good, and therefore changed a lot of the overarching gameplay system, specifically Azerite Power, in order to make sure that content got played, because otherwise they would have had to go back to the head office and say, all these new features we made, like Warfronts and Islands, people aren't doing, and they don't like them. And we can't see people playing them at all. Some people would definitely play them for the mounts and pets and things like that, and alt gear from Warfronts for sure, but generally speaking, it's just not getting the utilization we want to see. So BFA took up this stance that a lot of the content was kind of required. If you wanted to do X, Y, and Z piece of content, you also had to do other pieces of content, despite whether or not you found that content enjoyable. World Quests, Islands, Warfronts would definitely be in that category for me. My character has no business being there like a month into BFA, and yet still it's required of me in order to get my goals achieved to take part in that content, because it's the only source of real reward for that content. Now, they have made improvements to that. Good news, 8.2 fans. First of all, the neck requirements of level 55. I will be clear here once again, the Azerite power grind has not gone away. I was very clear about this several times. They just changed what you were grinding. Previously, you were re-grinding the same powers you already had, which was nonsense. Absolute nonsense that ever made it into the game. They've got rid of that now, so your Azerite armor, which is your armor with all your special powers on it, now is automatically unlocked, but that did not stop the grind. The game, BFA, is built on this grind. Unfortunately so, they can't get rid of it right now. I understand it. It doesn't mean I like it, okay? Understanding what the problem is doesn't mean I like it, because you made the bed that you're now lying in, Blizzard, unfortunately. Which means the grind has just changed. Now you're grinding the neck in order to put more of these new things in it, the essences. Now, a lot of people saw 8.2 as being like the big defining patch that would fix BFA in many ways. And I've got to say, for some people, it has. For some people, it absolutely has. However, for those of you who really disliked the class design choices in BFA, we're coming back to that same comment we had a minute ago, which is, I understand the problem, I still don't like it, and I'm still not happy, is that they're not going to fix class design in BFA. They're going to wait to the next expansion. And we have had that kind of explained to us in a video by Mr. Ian Hazakostas, who I will give maximum thumbs up to here, because that was a brave fucking video to put out. Because people like me, big fat nerds like me, are going to be referring to that video when expansion 9.0 starts rolling around. You better believe I'm going to be looking at that video going, In fact, I look forward to next week, where we are doing a top 5 of the things I want to see in patch 9.0. I'm going to be doing that next week. Now, what that means, what is the new Essence system? So, Blizzard's in this situation. In patch 9.0, or expansion 9.0, they're going to be revamping a lot of the class designs and specs, because they need to. It's gone way too far. Legion's left a huge hole in a lot of classes, and frankly, very many of them are a nightmare to play, to the point where I realistically cannot choose a main alt for raiding that I really enjoy out of all the specs in the game. And when it comes to alt raiding, you can kind of pick whatever you want, and I can't really pick anything. And you know me, especially if you've been around since like the Cataclysm days of me doing my channel, At that point, I loved every single class and spec in this game in one form or another. I enjoyed playing them all. And right now, it's like, I can't really think of anything I want to play. That's how bad it has gotten. But they can't do it now, and for good reason. It's a huge, enormous piece of work. And if they did it now in Battle for Azeroth, they would have to kind of wedge it in to the current systems they have, namely Azerite armor and the neck and all that kind of stuff. It isn't going to work. It's going to be a disaster. So they know that. So the Essence system can be summarized like this. It needs to be something that gives a little bit of spice to the classes, but we're not going to be sorry when it disappears at the end of Battle for Azeroth. That doesn't bode very well, because the only way that works is if it's not that good. It needs to be okay, just not amazing. What we can't do is shoehorn in another system into BFA on top of the systems that already exist, and then run into the Legion problem at the end of the expansion, which is, what about my essences? Because they were super cool. We can't really have that, and Blizzard doesn't want that either. So they have the kind of difficult task here of creating a new system for every class and spec in the game that people aren't going to miss when it's gone. And they've kind of hit the nail on the head, if I'm being honest with you, because essentially the Essence system is a new trinket slot. Now, some of them do have interesting gameplay effects, as some of you have no doubt found out if you're playing it. And if you haven't played it, there are some effects to have. But for the most part, it's a new trinket slot. It might give you extra resources, more time in your DPS cooldown, another attack to hit, another heal to throw out, things like that. But you're certainly not going to miss it. And the best way of gauging this, if someone is there saying, I like the Essence system, the best way to gauge the general consensus on this is just to check forums and see how many people are saying the Essence system is fucking awesome for its effects, not the acquisition. And you're not going to find that. You're not going to find that. It's not going to blow it. It's not blowing anybody's socks off. It was never designed to in the first place. Let's be honest. Now, the acquisition is something that you should be more aware of if you're thinking about coming back to 8.2, because again, maybe not, right? This is what we're coming back to. There's a lot of pros and cons to 8.2, which totally justifies why some people hate it and why some people really like it. Now, I'll clarify that now. The people that hate it are generally the raiders. For the most part, the people who've been badgering my ear about how much they dislike 8.2 are the raiders, because there's a lot to do if you're taking your raiding seriously, which a lot of people do. I'm not interested in your mockery of people who enjoy a certain part of the game in a game this big. A lot of people who are very interested in raiding, there's a lot of required content to get that done. All the raid testing we did on the PTR to figure out what was broken with the bosses so you guys have a better experience and all that kind of stuff was all done under the assumption that the characters would be of X power and a certain neck level. That's what Blizzard gave us, because that's what they want to ensure you have. Now, the essences are a big part of this, because as you can probably imagine, some essences are significantly better than others. And unfortunately, Blizzard has decided, I say unfortunately, but again, maybe not. Blizzard has decided where the essences come from, and they might be outside your wheelhouse. It might be you need to PvP to get your best essence. You need to PvE to get your best essence, but you love to PvP. All these kinds of things. Now, I will say this. They've done it in a kind of smart way. Getting the best output, right, version of your essence. Let's say you're an avid PvEer. You hate PvP. Okay, lots of people in that boat. But your best essence, and I will never submit to the pure nonsense that a gamer who is into a game is happy with second best. Like, I don't know any gamer who's serious about gaming, and I know a lot of gamers who are serious about their gaming who are okay with being second best. Or getting their second best essence, or only being 10% behind. I don't get that at all. I know some people are like, I don't care, I'll get the third best or whatever, because it's easier for me to get. That's great, man. But serious gamers ain't playing that. They ain't playing that game, dude. If I tell a gamer that the red gun does 1 more damage than the blue gun, they all want the red gun, right? And they'll go and get that fucking red gun. That's the gamers I play with, man. And that's what I will come from. That's my point of view. So, if you're a staunch PvE player, never going to touch PvP, your best essence might come from PvP, and you'll be like, fuck you, Blizz. Now, some people will just never do it. That's fair. However, I think they've made the good decision that the best output version of your essence isn't that bad to acquire. It really isn't. Once you look at what's required, it really is not that bad. It's not at all. In fact, it's been a kind of fun experience for me. I can talk from personal experience. Jumping into RBGs with my guild on like a once a day just to get 1 win for about 20 minutes. That's been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed it. And is it something I'm going to do after I get the essence I want? No, not at all. I don't love it that much. But we have a 2-week period where the new raid's not out, where I can gladly go and do that. And I'm fine with that. I think that's okay. I really think that's okay. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's a little bit, and Blizzard's okay with it as well. As they said recently, it's like, it's okay that every now and again you kind of have to go out of your bubble that you've created for yourself in the game of these are the only things I enjoy and these are the only things I'm going to do. If it means getting the best thing, you might have to step outside that, but it's not going to be crazy difficult to get, which it is not. It is not for any of the essences. It really isn't. Even the PvP ones are not that bad to get. However, if you want the really good visual cosmetic upgrade, so if you're not sure what I'm talking about, is there's 4 tiers of the essence. There's the weakest one, which is very easy to get. Then there's a slightly better version, which is a little bit more to get, but not hard. And then there's the final DPS healing tanking output version. That's the maximum strength that you can be, which is slightly more than what rank 2 was, right? Then there's rank 4, and it's purely cosmetic. It's no more powerful than the other one. And this one takes a lot more effort. That's fine, because if I want it for the output and I really care about just getting my best essence and being done with this, it ain't that bad to get. I'm fine with it. But for some of you, that's going to be a no. And I'm sure some of you are typing right now is like, no, fuck that, I'm never doing it. Fine, that's okay. But I'm on Blizzard's side with this one, stepping slightly outside of your wheelhouse for a little while to get the best possible thing for your character. I'm okay with it. If it came down to like pet battles gave me the best thing, best trinket in the game, but I had to do maybe like 100 pet battles, which isn't a lot, fine. That's okay. I'm alright with it. I'll suffer through it and move back to it. Am I going to enjoy it? I'll probably have a little bit of fun for a short period of time, and by the time it really starts to grate on my nerves, it'll probably be over. That's how I would tackle it anyway. So it's something you should be aware of. Moving back to flying there, but coming back to this required content that Blizzard really wants to make sure you do this content, because you might not be interested in Najata. It's just another daily zone to you. You're not interested. You're not interested in Mechagon. It's just another daily zone. I don't care for cosmetics. So and none of my best essences come from these zones. So I really couldn't give 2 shits about it. All I want to do is the brand new Mythic Plus season, which is coming soon, and the brand new Mega Dungeon, which is fantastic. It really is fantastic. And I want to do the new raid because that's what I really like. Well, unfortunately, if you do want flying, you're going to have to do these new zones, because flying is, of course, required in many ways. Again, a lot of people tell you that you don't need flying. It's like, well, we're just being ridiculous at this point, right? It's such an obvious gain for so many things that, yeah, I want flying. That's, you know, it's not helpful you saying that I don't need it. Everybody wants it, though, right? Let's not be stupid. And you have to do this content to get it. You really do. So that's something you have to bear in mind as well. Although I'll point out, as I pointed out earlier in the video, some of my friends were revered yesterday, 5 days in. Now, they were the hardcore grinders, I'm not going to lie. But if you're a half bothered, like I am, I'm really not that interested in flying and getting it early quick. It's not going to make much difference to me. Is that I'm like done Mechagon for like and just doing the daily run. That's basically what I do. I go to Mechagon, I do the cycle of the dailies, and I'm halfway through on it already with just a little bit more to get revered, and then I'll have my flying. So it's not that bad, and that's after 6 days. So again, it's one of those things that's a big deal if you want it to be a big deal. If you're going to make it a big deal, it is a big deal. But it comes to that maybe, maybe not. For some people, that might be just like, oh, God, I don't want to do Mechagon. I understand if you don't want to do it. Now, that's kind of where I'm at with 8.2. 8.2's had a lot of bugs. There's a lot of problems. Blizzard has addressed certainly phasing issues. I've had a really okay time. Have I had the best time? Not really, but this isn't the content for me. And I want to be clear on this. I've never been the guy who's been like, Timeless Isle is fucking the tits. Tanaan Jungle is the tits. This content usually doesn't appeal to me ever, right? I have to be clear on that. This isn't like a Mechagon Najata problem. This is a me thing. The new daily zones, I really couldn't give 2 shits about. When I got flying, I'm probably not going to bother with those zones unless I have like an emissary quest there and I want to get some artifact power. That's about it. But that's fine, and that's not a problem with those zones. That's just the way I see this kind of content. And for me, I would add on to that, it's getting a bit stale. Because it's a nice lick of paint, but we're essentially doing the same thing we've been doing since the start of the expansion. It needs to be different. It needs to move up. It needs to step up its game a bit. And hopefully 9.0 will provide that. Now, I've just explained a whole wealth of content, which is why I come back to the short answer of yes. There is easily enough stuff here. I would easily recommend the new Mega Dungeon, checking out the new raid, going and seeing the new zones and seeing what they're all about. All of that stuff is worth a month's subscription in my eyes. Easy. And maybe you will come back and find things that you like. The maybe not is, if you're looking to plan long term, you need to be aware of some of these elements. It's a little alt-unfriendly right now, right? Essences aren't bind to account or anything like that. So some of the essences do require some effort. And if you want to do multiple characters and get their best essence, you might be looking at a more tricky situation that you need to bear in mind, right? They're not they might later down the line make it that way. Is it worth coming back for like flying? Well, no. If you're not intent on playing the game, flying's not really worth coming back for unless you are planning to have it next expansion to level 3 or something like that. Maybe that's your idea. There's lots of yeses and nos, but on the other hand, a lot of people are loving 8.2, and I can't be clear about that. A lot of people are absolutely loving 8.2 in just the form it's in now, before the dungeon and the raid come out, because there's a lot to like there. There's this opportunity to do whatever the hell you want to do. Lots of people are literally logging out day after day after playing for hours and hours and hours, still with things they could be doing, but they kind of have to go to sleep, they have to go to work, they have to do those things to come back and play. That's what's happening in 8.2, which is a vast difference to what we've had at the start of BFA, and for that they've nailed it 100%. So it's a maybe, maybe not. I hope I've explained it. I hope I made it perfectly clear. I expect to read some interesting comments. Thank you very much for listening. Bye bye.